Senate Budget Committee Chairman Ken Conrad is trying to broker a budget compromise before he leaves Congress at the end of the year. He joins me now during this recess period and after Election Day. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Always good to be with you, Peter.
All this talk of bipartisanship coming out of the election, is this talk going to turn into real action?
You know, I think it almost has to, because this fiscal cliff is real. Expiring tax provisions, all of them from the Bush-era tax cuts, and, of course, the sequester. $1.2 trillion of across-the-board spending cuts on discretionary spending, including defense. The alternative minimum tax that's going to come back on affect 30 million people if it's not dealt with. So lots of reasons to act, and, of course, a debt limit extension looming out there as well.
John Boehner, did you hear something different in his comments this week?
I did. I heard something different in his tone, and I heard something different in the language. An opening of the door to consideration of revenue, which has to be part of the puzzle. Look, our revenue is at or near a 60-year low, so clearly that's got to be part of what's done. Spending is close to a 60-year high, so obviously that's got to be a big part of any solution.
So you heard him say, I'm for tax increases, because we haven't gotten to that point yet with John Boehner and the president and John Boehner and Democrats in general.
You know, it's all how you define tax increases, isn't it? Because additional revenue does not mean necessarily increased tax rates. You can get additional revenue by broadening the base, which is what the Bowles-Simpson Commission recommended, and I think which is the likeliest outcome here.
Do you think Democrats at the end of the line would be prepared to support tax rates that were, say, no higher than 35% as they are now?
I think it's possible if the progressivity of the code is improved. And that can be done. I mean, you can have actually lower rates and have more progressivity. It depends very much what you do with things like capital gains and dividends, what you do with other exclusions, tax credits and preferences. But it's entirely possible that you can have rates at 35 and have a more progressive system.
What about, on the other side, entitlement programs? John Boehner said, listen, Democrats have to come to the table, be willing to support real changes to entitlement programs. You're leaving the Congress. You don't have to worry about re-election. What is it you're going to tell your fellow Democrats you all should be prepared to give up if that's what it takes to get this grand bargain?
Well, you never want to negotiate in public. But look, there's no serious person that looks at our budget circumstance and doesn't understand on the spending side of the equation, the thing that is growing most rapidly are the entitlement accounts, especially health care. So that has to be part of any solution. And, of course, Social Security, which really shouldn't be part of any deficit deal, but does need to be dealt with because Social Security is headed for insolvency.
Harry Reid took Social Security off the table the other day.
Well, he took it off the table for the purposes of a deficit reduction deal. And that's entirely appropriate because it really shouldn't be part of a deficit reduction deal. That should be dealt with elsewhere. Social Security, any changes there should be to increase the solvency of Social Security itself. That's the Bowles-Simpson approach, and I think it's what almost all bipartisan groups have recommended.
In your time in Congress, you faced a lot of gridlock. It's one of the reasons, arguably, you're leaving. At least that's what you've told us in the past. What are your expectations right now, given that we're coming out of this election? You're set to leave here. Do you really think there should be optimism that this fiscal cliff can be averted? What are the chances we get some sort of deal before we hit that January 1st deadline?
You know, without optimism, nothing happens, because then everybody just assumes you kick the can down the road. So you have to be optimistic. It's critically important for the country that we do this and that we do it right and we do it in a balanced way. And yes, I believe it can happen. You know, I'm part of Bowles-Simpson Commission. I was part of the group of 6, now the group of 8. I'm absolutely confident that working together, we could put in place a platform, a strategy, a plan during this lame duck, have the details filled in later by the committees of jurisdiction where it has to be done, Finance Committee, Ways and Means Committee. The leadership has to come from those committees because that's where the expertise resides. But a basic framework could be laid out during the lame duck and a down payment made so that people know it's serious, it's for real, and I really am quite optimistic.
You, as I mentioned, set to retire from Congress after your time here. You open to serving in the Obama administration if the president comes calling?
Look, I don't expect that to happen, but President calls you You have to take that seriously and give it strong consideration. But I'm really looking to a career in baseball. As you know, I think there's some chance I'll be signed by spring training.
I heard the Nationals could use some help.
And, you know, I think I could be in the rotation of one of the clubs come spring.
All right, we'll look for you at spring training. Chairman Conrad, thanks again. We wish you well as you leave the Congress.